Hey 4xe fans, hey, I wanted to talk about batteries in the Jeep Wrangler 4xe and the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. And one of the comments that I have seen repeatedly in like the 4xe forums and the 4xe fans Facebook group, and one of the things that people kind of hope for with the 4xe is that down the road there will be a development of a battery that will give the Wrangler 4xe more range. And I don't want to be like one of those people that's like a joy killer or anything, but the likelihood of that is pretty slim to none. And here's why. Jeep has little interest in developing things for already built vehicles. You know, it's enough on the R&D budget to just keep developing new vehicles and keep new vehicles coming to market. That's a big enough hit on the R&D department from a financial standpoint. And so there's really little interest in a manufacturer like Jeep developing technologies for past vehicles. It's just not something auto manufacturers do. Because they've already sold you the vehicle, they've made their money, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm just saying this is business. This is the way business operates. They've already sold you a vehicle. They've gotten what they want out of you. Developing a newer battery to give the vehicle more range for past models is just not in their business model. It's not something they're going to take part in. Now, as far as the aftermarket goes, there really hasn't been any great examples of any aftermarket battery manufacturer making a battery to give a vehicle more range. Now, the original Tesla Roadster, the original one that was built inside a Lotus, it was a Lotus body with Tesla guts on the inside. They were able, I think they're still able to, there's a place in I don't know if it's Wyoming, I forget where it is. There's some place out west of Ohio that will put a bigger battery with more range in a Tesla Roadster. But to my knowledge, that's the only example I can think of where you can get an aftermarket battery that increases the electric range on any vehicle. It would be nice. It would be awesome if we could get more range out of these things. But I just would not expect that to happen. And I also don't expect any major advancements in battery technology within the lifespan of these vehicles. Yes, there will be incremental small steps, but if you go 12, 13 years down the road, like say a 2021 model like mine, if you go all the way to like 2033, 2034 out in that range, will it be worth investing in a larger battery or a larger capacity battery? Because there will be a price tag associated with that. So will it be worth it? Will it be worth it to invest that much money in an older vehicle at that point? Most of us would probably say no. Most of us, I mean, unless it was a battery replacement scenario out of warranty and you wanted to keep the thing on the road, maybe there might be something there. If you're really wanting to keep this thing on the road long term, maybe. But I kind of doubt it. And I don't know that the aftermarket is I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to support that. I don't know if it'll be strong enough with a demand for a company to really invest that much money, because there's going to be a lot of R&D for somebody to do to figure out how to do that, how to fit it in the same real estate footprint that they've been given back here under the back seat. It'd be a heavy investment. And as an example, this isn't a battery example, but as an example, I reached out to a company who has taken the 4xe cowl, and they've just taken the cowl itself, and they will paint it to match your body, the color of your Jeep. And they do this air compressor setup. It's like a nozzle and a switch and a gauge and everything. They build that into the cowl inside the door. And somebody did that real early on in the 4xe. It was like 2021. Somebody actually did that to a regular Jeep, where they took that cowl, painted it to match their Jeep, built-in air compressor thing inside it, and there's a company now selling that product. It's you just replace the cowl, you run your air hoses and a switch and all that kind of stuff, and it's a really cool thing. And I reached out to the company and I said, hey, would you be interested in doing the right side of the Jeep? You know, it'd be kind of cool for a 4xe to have that set up on the right side of the vehicle. And they said, you know, the demand's so low for this as it is, the demand out of the 4xe community would be even less. And so they said it just wasn't worth the R&D time and the manufacturing time. They just didn't think they'd sell enough to justify it. So I think the same could be said. Yeah, you know, you have to look at this stuff from a business perspective. I think the same could be said about anybody developing a battery to get any kind of more range out of a Wrangler 4xe. I just don't know that the market is going to be big enough. It would be nice. Not going to lie, I would love it. If this thing just got 50 miles of electric range, it would be a complete game changer. And to that point, you know, a lot of people have wanted to know about the possibility of adding a second battery, like in the back or something. Problem with that is the 4xe has a tuned suspension. You know, it's tuned to the 4xe. Most vehicles are a lot heavier in the front than they are in the rear. The 4xe brings, you know, that balance of that weight that is added kind of back to the middle a little bit. So the suspension has to be set up for that redistribution of weight, and that's why when you go to get a lift kit or springs or anything, you have to get a 4xe specific kit, because everything is set up for that redistribution of the weight. And you know, like some people have wanted to take a lift off of like a 392 kit and put it on a 4xe, but the 392 is designed for a lot of weight in the front, more than, you know, like the 6 or the 4. That there's more weight in the front, so you know you can do it. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's it's problematic to the suspension and how it's supposed to work. So that's another reason why adding a second battery would be problematic to the 4xe, because now you've got a suspension that's set up for the way it is now, and you're probably going to add 500 or 600 pounds somewhere else in the vehicle. Now, if you take out the back seat, put it on top of the old battery, I don't know, something like that. But therein lies another issue. Now you have to thermally manage that battery. Now you'd have to have some means of running cooling lines and everything to that second battery, which creates, you know, all sorts of, I mean, yeah, somebody that does it, you know, does projects like that and knows what they're doing, yeah, they can do that. But for the average person that, you know, our skills might not be much more than operating a set of wrenches and, you know, sockets and stuff. I mean, you know, like if that's the extent of your skills, you're probably not going to be the type of person that's going to be able to figure out those cooling lines and running all that and integrating that into an existing system. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger headaches. You know, I've tracked a couple people on Instagram and YouTube that have electrified Jeep Wranglers in the past. And they've taken like Tesla guts out of wrecked Teslas, and they're incorporating them into a Jeep Wrangler. And the problems they run into in the process is just, it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot to it, a lot of engineering stuff to figure out. And so it's just, I just don't see the likelihood of it. And beyond that is the safety factor. You know, I had a friend that years ago, he had a Toyota Prius, and he wanted to get more out of the electric side of things. And so he added a second battery, and it actually worked great. I mean, it was a fantastic project right up until the fire. So, you know, there are things to consider, not only from an engineering perspective, but a safety perspective, business perspective. There's just all sorts of issues that come into play. So that's why I say you're probably not going to see any kind of development in battery technology that is going to give these things added range, just because the business model is problematic to it. So enjoy it for what it is. Do your best to utilize it well. And I guess that's about all I have to say about that, Forrest. Thanks for watching. Take care.